Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely. And parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/getstarted. That's GREENLIGHT.com/getstarted.
Well, that's why you put lipstick on the penguin.
Absolutely not.
So that does not explain what you think it does, man.
Hey, fellas, you guys are here early.
Well, we know that you love before show shenanigans.
And you're always the one who has to set them up.
Cloning the clones,
Yeah, wrangling packs of animals to destroy the studio with.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of hassle. So this week we did it all for you.
You did? And you themed it about this week's episode? Failed products?
We sure did, buddy. Hey, we even made a little poster for each of your failed products for you, man.
Sorry, Tom, did you say my failed products?
Sure, isn't that what this essay's about?
See, like we got your blog here. Remember when Patreon took away your creator account because you hadn't posted in so long?
They said I could have it back.
Right here, here's you losing your job as the U.S. rep for a magic toy company.
Okay, that one wasn't my fault. The store closed, so...
Yeah, it sure did, but the magic shop in New York that fired you didn't close.
That one just wasn't a good mesh, employistically.
And, of course, you have your own magic show, 11 years without making any money here.
Wasn't about the money. It was about
losing money?
Yes.
Yeah.
Losing money?
Yeah.
Of course, there's the Book of Mormon.
Okay, guys, this week's episode isn't about my failed products. It's about stupid cell phones and things like that.
Oh.
Okay, that does make a lot more sense.
All right. Well, I guess, why don't we just take this stuff down and we can get started?
Sure. I'm going to stand in the hallway staring for a little bit.
Yep, you got it, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
Stare it up. Maybe you can learn to tap dance out there.
Hello and welcome. Citation Needed, podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts because this is the internet. That's how it works now. I'm Cecil, and I'll be product testing tonight. But in order to do it right, I need my production team. First up, two guys who carefully straightened and then snorted the entire production line, Eli and Noah.
I appreciate the comment, Cecil, but I've never been straight with cocaine.
But it is nice when you can just put it on a conveyor belt like that. That saves a ton of time.
Sure does, yeah.
Also joining us tonight, two meat-based entities that hate produce, Heath and Tom.
If I smell one single goddamn cell wall in that kitchen, I'm going to make a scene. It's really hard to go out to dinner with me. It's just a giant pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. Cecil, I do not hate produce. That's what meat eats.
That's what
right.
Yeah,
that's fine.
What the food eats. Non-patrons seem to be rooting for a failed product. Just saying. If you'd like to learn how to become a patron on a per episode basis, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Tom, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Today we will be talking about famous failures. That would not include us because the caveat of famous is included.
Right, yeah, right up there.
Key. And Eli, you perused the website of a museum you learned about on Twitter because this show is regressing towards a truly terrifying meme. Are you ready to bait us with what you clicked, my friend?
Indeed I am, Cecil Fur. Indeed I am.
So tell us, Eli, what are some failures or something?
Thank you, Cecil. Come, let me kiss your hand. Let me kiss it.
Let it go. Don't touch me.
Okay, right. Failure, one might argue, as they began an essay like Tom, is the lifeblood of our podcast. Nay, the very essence of America itself. From the Challenger explosion to the explosively challenged cocaine polar bear, our show is a monument to falling short. Or, Thank you. In the case of our Death by Selfie episode, falling long. But not all foul failures to befall the forlorn are enough for their own efforts.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck. But not all foul failures to befall the forlorn are enough for their own episode, which is why I've provided this factory of flops forthwith. You see, Noah? I can do it too.
I don't even know what you think you're imitating.
Let's begin in the world of tech.
I thought he was just going to do every
Where bad
word with an
ideas-
F for the entire show.
Outstanding.
That's normally alliteration, but when Eli writes it, it's alliteration.
That is a way to spell foul.
Yeah, exactly. Let's begin in the world of tech, where bad ideas go to be overfunded. First up, from 2006, the ESPN branded flip phone,
Excellent.
which boasted
Excellent pick.
yeah, which boasted not quite 144p video highlights.
Whoa.
Yeah, and 24/7 sports news, except for when it didn't. You see, it pulled scores and headlines from the ESPN website constantly in an uncustomizable OS that led critics to accuse ESPN of creating the phone solely to boost their internet traffic.
Oh, and the worst part about this phone was the default ringtone of Chris Berman shouting, "He could go all the
Right? It should have been whoop. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, no. So if I could get the sound effect of him going fumbling, stumbling, rumbling when I drop the thing, that I'd pay for.
But don't worry, it actually didn't do that because part of the constant updating meant that during sports heavy times, like say Monday Night Football, scores and headlines would often refresh too fast to click on or even read.
Two of my idiot friends had these things. They thought they were like day traders for sports with a Bloomberg terminal, except making no money. They'd actually be losing money because they were gambling. They'd have it out while we played poker. While they were losing at poker, they were losing bets, and they'd have this thing out, and they'd look at it. It was so many alerts. It was like Lucy and Ethel at the chocolate factory. It was so stupid.
Yeah, and here I am trying to imagine Heath even being friends with someone who owned this phone, and I can't get there. I can't.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm walking.
Plus, it costs $399. For comparison, the first edition iPhone, which was also released that year, was just $100 more expensive and, worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But don't worry, you can actually get the ESPN phone free with a $65 to $225 a month plan.
$225 plan?
Yeah.
Does it come
hosted
with
on
an escort? What the fuck? What?
And it was hosted on ESPN's very own satellite
You
network.
could rent Scott Van Pelt for that to just hang out with him.
And if you're thinking to yourself, wait, Eli, ESPN doesn't own a satellite network. No, they don't. But as they later explained in court, they were allowed to use those satellites. And that is kind of theirs if you think about it.
That sounds like a BMW driver's relationship with the road, actually. Now you say it.
I was thinking of white people's relationship with history, but same difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Very similar.
The product lasted less than 1 year, at which point ESPN execs tried to sell it to Steve Jobs, who told them, quote, "Your phone is the dumbest fucking idea I have ever heard."
Are you serious?
End quote.
I'm not going to overcharge people for a phone that you can't customize with a bunch of obnoxious proprietary stuff that makes it even worse. This is the Apple Corporation. That's crazy. We're not doing that.
When the phone went under, they prematurely severed so many contracts that until they were bought by Disney and Hearst, they had a warning on their Better Business profile not to buy a cell phone from them.
Yeah, and America was like, from ESPN. Yeah, way ahead of you.
Say what you will about the ESPN phone, but it was at least a phone that made phone calls and you could send and receive texts. But what if it had done none of that? Well, for that level of mono use, you need the election-destroying, fascist-enabling powers of the one, the only Twitter.
Oh, okay. Twitter. I thought you were about to say Hugo Chavez and Dominion for sure.
They released the Twitter Peak in 2009. It was bright blue and priced at $200. The single-use device for Twitter was not even good at Twitter. The main list of tweets on the screen only showed the first 3.5 words of each tweet. To read more, you had to hit the return key. What? Then you could choose which tweet you wanted to read by pushing either N for next or P for previous. Jesus. Then, when you finally chose the tweet you wanted to read, the screen could only display 20 characters at a time. What? Plus, linked websites were inaccessible because, and I cannot emphasize this enough, it was just a device for Twitter and literally nothing else.
You have to love a phone that treats its own platform like the monster from Bird Box. Like, what the fuck, man?
But I don't know. I feel like a device that doesn't even allow context was just ahead of its time.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Little side note here. One of the two pieces of media about the Twitter Peak before it was buried on top of all those ETs in the desert. One of them is a Gizmodo article titled, "The Twitter Peak is so dumb it makes my brain hurt." And the first comment on that article is, quote, "One thing you failed to factor in, this $200 device comes with lifetime service. What? Try finding a smartphone with lifetime service for $200. Yeah, not going to happen. Try finding just a smartphone for $200, end quote. And I like to think that that comment is kind of perfect proof that we've always lived in a castle. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know that smart is the right descriptor for this phone in any way.
Overused word these days.
The title's weird, too. The Peak, like I'm just going to I'm being coy. Maybe I should take a peek at the Twitters or not. I don't know.
So even funnier, that's based off The Peak, which was an email-only device that was also a massive failure. What? So the company that made the Twitter Peak was like, people don't like mono-use devices, even when it's something super accessible that they want. Let's do it for a website no one cares about. Yeah. Sometimes when you fail, it's not your fault. It's just bad luck. And this next failure was a diet supplement. First patented in 1937, flavored like a chocolate, but containing a small dose of the decongestant and appetite suppressant phenylpropanolamine. It had celebrity endorsements from superstars like Hedy Lamarr and Bob Hope. It claimed, dubiously, that it could help you lose 10 pounds in 5 days without diet or exercise. It was so popular, it was featured in the Macy's Day Parade, and when they held a contest to win a lifetime supply on New Year's Eve of 1950, they received over 1 million entries, citation needed. I'm talking, of course, about AIDS.
Okay. What? Okay. Every time I'm forced to make jokes around AIDS, I add one more genocide to my essay to-do list. That's just how it's going to work, guys.
Also, just a quick medical note to our listeners. But if you do lose 10 pounds in 5 days and you are not cutting weight for a upcoming wrestling meet, please go to the doctor. Immediately go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor either way. Don't do that.
Amount of weight.
If you're wearing 5 days. A garbage bag to catch the sweat, then you're in the clear. But if you're not doing that,
That's right, podcast listener. You heard me correctly. AIDS, spelled AYDS.
Oh, it's spelled different.
Okay.
That makes it perfectly fine.
We all felt stupid, but that fixes it.
It really was pronounced that way. I know we don't usually play clips on this show, but there are a couple of ads for AIDS that I'd love to play for you. Cecil, can you hit us with that footage?
You bet. Here we go.
If you look as broad as this, and you'd rather look as slim as this, try the AIDS Reducing Plan. Delicious tasting AIDS candy contains vitamins and minerals, no drugs. Taken with a hot drink before meals, AIDS helps you curb your appetite. You eat less because you want less, so you lose weight naturally. Thousands of men and women have lost weight on the AIDS plan. You can too. Why not try AIDS? They work.
That's so bad.
Jesus. There's another one, too.
Wow. There's another
Literally,
one.
cocaine would be healthier than that, it sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've tried fad diets, powders, pills. Still, my weight's been up and down like a yo-yo until the AIDS plan taught me how to take off weight and help keep it off.
AIDS may taste like a candy, but AIDS contains one of the most effective appetite suppressants you can buy. And there's no stimulant in AIDS that could make you nervous.
With AIDS, I ate less, so the weight came off. To help keep it off when I sometimes want things loaded with calories, AIDS helps put me in control.
Let the AIDS plan teach you how to take off weight and help keep it off. Try peanut butter AIDS.
Okay, so they had that commercial and they were like, I don't think it's done yet. Try peanut butter AIDS. Like right at the end for no reason. That's so. Try peanut butter AIDS, by the way. That's approximately our national policy for the next 15 years about the disease, not the fucking candy.
Kidding, right?
Yeah, no, that's probably how the company failed. Reagan calls the CEO. He's like, sorry, guys, we're officially ignoring AIDS for this decade. You're fine.
Kidding, right?
Yes, needless to say, when the 1980s rolled around, the folks at AIDS were in for a nasty shock. Initially, sales weren't negatively affected. In September of 1985, the president of the company stated in an interview that sales had increased as a result of the connection.
What the fuck are those people? They were like, I saw a special on the news. Looked like people really were losing the weight. I don't know. I feel like I get some AIDS candy. Yikes. Have you tried the peanut butter?
Yeah, but by 1986, they were looking a lot more negatively at the correlation. Another executive of the manufacturer was quoted as saying, "The product has been around for 45 years. Let the disease change its name." Real quote.
The no talent ass clown of a disease gets famous. We're supposed to change our name? Absolutely not.
What do you want us to call it? Citations needed? That's stupid. We're not doing it.
But the disease did not change its name.
Yeah, it turns out AIDS is a real dick about it,
Right?
huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
By 1988, company leadership announced that the company was seeking a new name because sales had dropped as much as 50% due to the publicity about the disease.
I'm just going to run out and get some AIDS, honey. I'll be right back.
The name AIDS Slim was tested in Britain.
That's a lot better.
And eventually the name of the product was changed in the United States in 1989 to Diet AIDS.
That does sound healthier than regular AIDS. Yeah.
Way better than Crystal AIDS. That just
AIDS Zero.
And believe it or not, advertisements for Diet AIDS could be found in newspapers and magazines until at least 1993.
Yeah, no, they also thought about AIDS. No, not that one. We assure you it's candy, the candy called AIDS. We are AIDS. They went with Diet AIDS instead. I guess. Brevity.
Yeah, and as Wikipedia so helpfully tells us, quote, "The product has since been withdrawn from the market."
Well, I have to spin the wheel of genocide to see which one is next here. Holodomor. Okay, great. Cool. All right.
Nice.
Well, while I write that one down, let's take a quick break for some apropos of nothing.
All right, gentlemen, there is no better way to put this, but we here at AIDS Weight Loss need to change our name.
Wow. How's the rest of the team handling the news?
Not well.
Motherfucker!
Okay. What if we lean into it? Something like AIDS, not that one.
My whole fucking career, 30 goddamn years!
Hey, I like your thinking, but I think if anything, that's just going to draw more comparisons rather than
I was going to say the same thing.
We have so many fucking boxes!
Okay. Could we change the pronunciation? Say it like Aedes or something.
I mean, people already, they know how it's pronounced. That is the whole problem. They pronounce it.
Okay. He's really close. Okay, so new name. Got it.
Yeah. Can we take 15 and start coming up with stuff?
You might want to give it a minute.
Yeah, that tracks.
And we're back. We left off. There was a diet candy named AIDS, which is like Nope, that's it. Okay, they won. All right.
Yeah.
Eli.
You were about to have to spin that wheel again. Yeah.
Podcast listener, I know my place on this podcast. Cecil does history at all the proper angles.
Okay.
Tom tells stories of men dying while striving for greatness and a cry for help that we have and will continue to ignore. And Heath does whatever the fuck Heath wants. But if I may step ever so gingerly over the line into the expertise of one no illusions, there is one massive failure. It would be a tragedy to leave out of this episode. I'm talking, of course, about the Nintendo Power Glove.
100% would have been taken off this list if they just added fisting to most titles. I think.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And let's face it, like if they'd named Zelda 2 The Fisting of Link, that would have been a way more apt description of what you were going to get, regardless of which controller you used.
That's true. That's true. So the first thing you need to understand is that the Nintendo Power Glove was an absolute miracle of ingenuity and invention, right? Popularized in the 1989 kids movie The Wizard, it was a piece of technology that seemed light years ahead of its time. It was, at least in the movie, which was basically a commercial for the damn thing, the virtual reality controller come to life. You could drive a car in a racing game, shoot down baddies by simply aiming and pulling an invisible trigger. Hell, you could deploy deadly finishing moves on defeated opponents in Mortal Kombat with just a touch of one of its many programmable buttons. But sadly, yeah, actually couldn't do any of that because it was a piece of shit and it didn't work.
Okay, in my experience, you'd watch your one friend who had the glove play with it. And you never get to play yourself, and you get super mad about it. But then one time, he would stand way too close to the TV and punch a hole in the screen. And then his mom would yell down the stairs, "What was that?" And then you would all run away and dive into the dishes.
Or in my case, you just lie in bed, lovingly touching the picture in the Sears catalog, like Wolverine with a photo of Cyclops and Jean Grey. Yeah.
Or in my case, you'd have gotten one in your 40s in a sad, futile effort to stave off your own physical decline by trying to buy your youth on eBay.
Sure.
Okay, these progressively got a lot more sad as we go down the line slot.
Now, I want to be clear, before Noah strangles me with his thighs, the technology behind the Power Glove was sound, right? Here's the explanation from the How Stuff Works article I read on the Power Glove. Quote, the system worked thanks to two primary components, the glove and 3 microphones on an L bracket that you mounted to your television. Pin in that for later. What? From 2 small speakers, the glove emitted ultrasonic beeps, inaudible to human ears. The microphones mounted near the TV picked up the sounds, and the system's CPU calculated the relative distance of the glove depending on how much time it took the sound to reach the microphones.
And then your dog side tackled the TV and you're just
yeah, right.
With that data, the CPU could triangulate the glove's location and translate it into on-screen action. From a distance of 5 feet, that's 1.5 meters, the system had an accuracy to within 1/4 of an inch. That's a little more than 1/2 centimeter. It worked quickly, updating the glove's position about 30 times per second.
I feel like both worked and quickly are overstatements here. But sure. Yeah.
It continues. Quote,
why do you pronounce metric like you're selling me drugs, Eli? Why do you do that?
I always feel it's a little treat, right? If someone wants the metrics, I'm always like, ooh, you want the metrics, do you? All right, you saucy minx. Here you go. Here's the millimeters like you need them. It continues. Quote, the glove also tracked finger movements. Fiber optic tubes were laced into the first 4 fingers of the glove. The pinky finger was considered redundant and thus left sensorless and lonely. As you flexed your fingers, light through the fiber optic tube became more constricted. A light sensor at the base of the glove detected the loss of light and determined where and how far the left tube was bent.
Yeah.
End quote.
Yeah, and given my experience, I can tell you which of those fiber optic tubes got bent the least often.
Feels like a lot more thought went into this than popularizing face recognition unlock technology the same year as a mask-wearing global pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, so for comparison, the only product slightly comparable to this level of technology was the industry-designed Data Glove, which cost $10,000. And the Power Glove retailed for just $100. Kids went wild for it, and Mattel, the company that actually produced it in the United States, sold 600,000 Power Gloves in the first 6 weeks of release alone. Now, don't get me wrong, $100 was a lot of money in 1989. That's like $240 in today's money, or if one prefers, 57 boxes of AIDS. But that low price point and need for high volume would actually be the Power Glove's downfall. See, the product wasn't made by Nintendo. It was made by a company called Abrams Gentile Entertainment, or AGE. And in the US, it was manufactured, as I said, by the toy giant Mattel. Again, back to how stuff works. Quote, AGE wanted the product prototyped and manufactured as quickly as possible. They worked with Mattel to complete hardware and software simultaneously so they could cash in on the NES's phenomenal popularity. They finished the Power Glove in less than 5 months.
Seems like a short amount of time, but that could span almost 4 British prime minister terms.
Cecil, this is America. Here we use the Scaramucci.
Thank you.
As our metric.
And you have to whisper the metric version.
Right, exactly. Oh, you want a little trust, do you? Right. On top of that speedy-ass development, to keep the price down on their end, Mattel stripped the Power Glove down and bought the cheapest components for the system they could find. With shitty microphones and shitty speakers, the accuracy of position detection was disastrously lowered. The shitty speakers couldn't track tiny movements like the ideal Power Glove could, so you had to make large, sweeping gestures to have any control over your character.
Yeah. A child hopped up on sugar, making large sweeping gestures with a glove that has a wire running to the console.
Yeah,
did not go well.
And again, I feel like I can tell you which large sweeping gestures got made most often. You know,
but the glove and the mics weren't the only problem. Remember that L-bar I mentioned that you had to mount above your TV? Well, turns out dads in the 80s weren't exactly lining up to mount a video game controller receiver to the front of their entertainment centers. So the goddamn manual for the Power Glove recommends stacking, quote, books, boxes, or other stackable things on top of your TV to lift up the L-bar, end quote. Alternatively, the manual suggested resting the L-bar in front of the TV on a, quote, chair, a table, or even a large box.
I know this sounds weird to people who've only seen flat screens, but TVs used to have a 17-inch screen in a box the size and weight of a kitchen island. Yeah, if that helps you. But.
And those racing and shooting games that were promised in The Wizard, they never happened. Actually, to get full 3D motion, the Power Glove needed games programmed specifically to its capabilities. And the problem was only 2 titles were ever released for those features. Bad Street Brawler, a repetitive and clunky Double Dragon ripoff, and Super Glove Ball, one of Breakout's many clones.
Oh, okay. So as hard as it is to undersell Super Glove Ball, you're totally underselling Super Glove Ball.
I feel like they had 5 months to come up with the controller. They could have spent some of that time workshopping the name for Super Glove Ball.
Sounds like something the pedophile told you were going to be playing.
Right, exactly.
Wait, did we have the same pedophile?
So for all other games, assuming you hadn't lost connection with the system because there was any noise anywhere ever, and assuming you could remember all of its, I shit you not, 14 programmed motion codes, which were different for every game, and so counterintuitive that Mattel eventually released a separate illustrated guide for all of them, you could kind of play Nintendo games. Sorta. That said, because there was just a regular NES controller on the back of the glove, what most kids ended up doing was just taking the glove off and playing it on the controller.
Glove-shaped controller? Or they'd end up just holding their arm out in front of them and getting super tired while they use it like a regular controller. And then they'd be like, fuck you, it's awesome. This is awesome. I just want to use the regular controller for a minute. My arm.
One-handed.
In spite of stellar initial sales, when the chorus of disappointed children's voices grew loud enough, sales tanked. And in spite of those huge initial sales, the product and the company, AGE, bombed. Side note, the Power Glove entirely explains Gen X to me, right? You all got a Power Glove for Christmas. It didn't work. And now you're all transphobes. Like, I get it now. It's actually
so goddamn much better than the Virtual Boy.
But as with so many failures, it wasn't all bad. The idea of the Power Glove lived on and lives on. It's been depicted in TV and movies. It's been worn by nerdum superstars and Freddy Krueger. There's a speed metal band named Power Glove that plays retro gaming tunes. And it was, without a question, the inspiration for the Nintendo Wii, the most important console in the history of video games. But that's a fight for another day.
And if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, what would it be?
I feel a lot better about my blog now.
All right, are you ready for the quiz?
I don't think the Wii is the most important console in the history of gaming.
No, it's not. It's not.
You have to listen to the next episode. I'm ready.
All right, Eli, got a question for you. What other sweet treat had to change their name because of a stupid disease?
Oh, no.
A, sugar rabies. B, mellow yellow fever. C, MERS-bar. D, Jardiale chocolate. Or E, fun diphtheria. Fun diphtheria.
Oh. I got to go with sugar rabies. Sugar rabies is
That
too
is
good.
correct.
Nice.
All right, Eli, most of this essay was devoted to the Nintendo Power Glove, but which real Nintendo accessory controller was even more absurd? A, the ROB Rob robot thing.
Mm-hmm.
B, have any of you guys seen this thing?
I own
See,
one.
this is what it looked like. I've inserted a picture of this thing.
What the fuck?
For real. D, I had one and it might have inspired my disinterest in games from a very early age.
Does it have record players? Or
No, so the most important thing to keep in mind is all it does is press A and B. That's all it does.
It does.
Well, it does it badly.
Yeah,
It does it
not even
badly
well.
and slowly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And often misses, yeah. I'm going to go with D. You had one and it inspired your disinterest in games from early
blame it
age.
on something. Let's go with it.
There you go.
All right, I have one for you as well, Eli. What was the best fisting-based game on Nintendo?
Jesus.
Ooh.
A, Punch In. B, Load Stunner. C, Brachiovaginal Fantasy. Or D, and this one is, I'll admit, this one's a bit of a deep cut, but that is a common problem with fisting. D, Fister's Quest.
I got to go with Punch In. It's got to be Punch In.
It was Punch In. No, I'm sorry. No, it was D. It was Fister's Quest.
Oh,
No, I don't care who. I don't care what the answer was. You won with that question.
All right, so I feel like because of all the flattery, we should get an essay from Cecil next week.
All right. Well, for Noah, Heath, Eli, and Tom, I'm Cecil. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, I will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, wait. Patience is a virtue. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or you can leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. If you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes. Be sure to check out citationpod.com.
What about Choco Diet?
I mean, it's not a diet, though. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
What do you mean you have no disease naming guy? Someone came up with the name.
What about Candy Slim?
It's more of a chocolate, so.
Well, then just put that guy on the phone. This isn't fucking hard. Hello? Damn it. Dude, you hung up again.
You got to let this go, man.
Seriously, Steve, you're going to be fine. Relax.
I'm going to let you go off the top of this fucking building.
Okay.
Yikes.
Diet Delights.
Ooh, see, I like that.
I also like Diet Delights.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.